Hey guys, it's Danny here and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about cycles and how they repeat themselves until you consciously break them. So I did a video last week, which was part one of this, which is all about how messages come to us in threes. So now I'm kind of going to move on to a part two, which is of a similar nature, but still a little bit different. So before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And with that being said, let's start now. So with cycles, the cycles can come in many different ways, and often we may tend to think it's like a negative experience that we're having. So something really common that I have heard people say, or that I personally have even said in the past, why do I keep attracting people that don't suit me? Or why do bad things keep happening to me? All these kind of whys, why is this happening to me? It's very much like a kind of like a victim mentality in a way. So this is one that I find that as humans we tend to get stuck in, and we don't understand, why does this keep happening to me? So it's not that you begin with a victim mentality, but because it keeps happening, we tend to sit in this energy of like, I'm a victim, whether it's conscious or not. I'm not saying everyone does this. So I'm going to share with you today why you keep experiencing it, how you can break out of that, which is very, very simple once you know and are able to recognize that it's just a cycle that keeps repeating, and how to kind of stay out of that as well. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the cycles, why they keep repeating. It's going a little bit deeper. We are going to talk a bit more about kind of past life connections, connections in this lifetime to other people in terms of like energetic cords and that kind of stuff. So we all come into this life with some sort of karma, some sort of baggage that is from a past life, and we tend to have these connections maintained with people from other lifetimes until we're ready to break it. So you can have these connections for years, like for years and years and years and years, and like different lifetimes, because in the past life you weren't able to break that, or there may have been a connection with someone in the past that you have brought into this physical lifetime that you're in now. And it could be through like karmic relationships. That's what karmic relationships are, is this concept that this is a person from your past, from a past life, and there's this karma that needs to be completed in this lifetime. But I think the problem is with these cycles is that often we tend to think that we're stuck, but the thing is you're not stuck. So the reason these cycles keep repeating is because there's something that you need to learn from this you haven't learned, and you need to cut that cord. We tend to experience these things and these cycles and these lessons because we have this unresolved karma, we have this work, or we came into this life to be able to learn what this lesson is. For example, in a relationship with another person, as humans we often want to give people the benefit of the doubt, or we tend to get tricked by the mind rather than feeling with our intuition, with our heart, with our gut feeling. And if someone treated you really poorly, for example, like a partner treated you really poorly, and then they might come back and say, oh, I'm really sorry, I'll never do that again, I don't know what I was thinking, I've changed, blah blah blah, and we tend to take them back. Or it's kind of like these habits of like, oh well, I believe them because I care for them and I want to believe them and I want to trust what they're saying is true. But this is where you get tested. So when we have these cycles repeating themselves, you may tend to continuously be pulling in the same types of people, not necessarily the same exact person, but people of a similar nature that behave in a similar way. And it's not necessarily that they're a bad person, but they have this sort of contract with you that you have something to learn through them, and they're actually fulfilling this job that their soul kind of has to teach you this lesson. Now if you choose to not listen to the lesson and give them the benefit of the doubt and kind of go against what your intuition or what your gut feeling is telling you, then you're actually doing yourself a disservice, and you're perpetuating this cycle. You're allowing this cycle to continue to keep playing itself out, and it's going to keep playing out until you learn it's a cycle. You need to break, you need to cut that cord, you need to let that energy loose and recognize that that is no more for you. Stop being that people pleaser, or stop being that person that doesn't believe in themselves and needs to go attach themselves to these people that aren't good for you. This is just a very simple example, but I do tend to see it a lot come through in relationships. I really learned that in order to move past things and in order to like change your reality, like to create a new reality for yourself and to kind of release that energy of what is no longer serving you, literally, you have to let go of people in your past, or let go of people in your current life, actually, not your past too, but also in your current life, that are part of that cycle. So I know that I had to do it personally, and I had to cut someone out. I became aware of the fact that it was a cycle, and that by allowing this person to stay in my life, that I was allowing this cycle to continue. And if it wasn't with him, it would have been with another person, because I wouldn't have closed that cycle. So we need to recognize that cycles need to be closed. If you think of a cycle, a circle, same thing. It's continuous, but there's an opening, and you're allowing yourself to like seep into that little opening. So you've got to close that and say, I'm not accepting this anymore. I'm not allowing this. So it's like, okay, what do you have to learn? You have to sit with yourself and review, okay, what is the lesson in this relationship, and this experience, in this job? So that is why they repeat. It's because there's an open cycle that hasn't been closed, and you have to close that to shift from this timeline that you're in, shifting gears, going onto a new path to a different timeline that is going to bring you into the reality that you want to live in, and not the reality that you were living in because you had this cycle open. So once you close that off, throw that away, throw away the key. Don't let that experience come back in. Don't kind of lower yourself after you've done that work of like getting out of that. Don't get sucked back in, because that's something that I noticed. It's like a trick, it's like a game that we're playing, and these experiences or whatever can tend to pull us back in. It's like this illusion of like, oh, but I want to know, like, do they really care about me? They're saying all these nice things about me. So it's like, don't get sucked into that, because if you can feel that situation is not right for you, then you need to leave that behind, and you need to be like, okay, I'm just closing this off. Even though it may be hurtful in the moment, it may be uncomfortable, it may make you sad, you may feel like you'll never get over it, but you will, because you'll be like, hold on, why was I attracting and allowing all of this negative stuff to come into my life, when like once I've closed it off, I'm literally saying to the universe and saying to yourself that I am only accepting this standard and not this standard anymore, and I'm throwing that away, and I'm now going into this different direction. So that is why they repeat. So the next thing I want to talk about is how you can stop it. So I actually think I did sort of just talk about how to stop it, but yeah, how to stop it is through just not allowing that to come through anymore. This is where that message of the 3 comes in again, where I'm going to pull in that other video. If you haven't watched it, check it out, because we can get tested. And the thing is, we are always being tested, and it's not just a test from like the universe, it's literally a test from your higher self. Your higher self is like, okay, you've showed me once, now show me twice, now show me a third time. So I truly believe that even though we do get messages in the 3s, which is the other video, we do get tested in 3 times as well. So if you do kind of feel like you've ended this really not healthy experience or whatever, or relationship or whatever it is, if you feel like you've ended it and you're like, oh, so good, I'm not going to allow this to come into my life anymore, I'm not going to be tricked anymore, all these different things that can come into play, you're going to be tested. I'm telling you, I know that I was. You've got to stay true to yourself. You've got to remind yourself, if you have to, like, write it on your mirror and be like, I do not accept this, and do mantras, like affirmations, things like that, because that allows you to cleanse out like the negative energy, to bring in like new belief systems and ingrain them into your being. So you will get tested, and it will probably come in 3s, and you've got to say to yourself, to the universe, say, no, you can test me all you want, but I'm not going to get sucked into this, and I'm not going to fall for this again. And it will be the same pattern. It will be the same thing with a different packaging. So it's like, a good example, I just thought of this right now, is like, imagine you're getting this rock, like this ugly rock, and it's wrapped in like very plain blue paper. So it's like you're getting a gift, and it's like, oh, this gift wrapped in plain blue paper, and you're like, nah, I don't want it. Been there, done that. And then you get another one, and it's wrapped in gold paper, and you're like, oh, this one's a little bit prettier, I like this, it looks really nice. But underneath, it's the same rock. You just have to know that it's a test. It's literally yourself testing you, like, can you do this? Can you move past it? So make sure that you are aware that it is a test, and if anything like rings a bell for you, or is like a red flag, and it's reminding you of something, then, and it seems very similar, then close that cycle off. I actually remember this happened to me January last year, and it was like a test and it came in threes, and I remember I closed off a second cycle and I was like, all right, it's gonna come one more time. I know it's gonna come one more time. I'm ready to experience it and I'm gonna be aware. And when it came the third time, I closed it off. And after that, it was like this whole shift happened. Like, I'm not joking, this whole shift happened, and I actually started to bring in new things that I hadn't experienced before. I started to bring in new relationships I hadn't experienced, and I started to attract different kinds of people into my life, and it really changed, and my whole perspective changed, my energy changed, where I became not so reliant on like different situations to make me feel better and things like that. So it's not just that like, oh, you've cleared out this person, okay, your relationships are going to change. It's like everything will change. You will feel different. You will grow more as a person because you've just ended something that is like was never really serving you, but was just there to teach you, to help you grow. So it's all about your self-growth. It's all about your self-love. You know, these experiences test us. They can make us feel like really like low and really like poor energy and feel like we lack love and all of that stuff. I think the whole thing is like recognizing that you are really strong and you have a lot of strength in yourself, and that if you recognize that you can end this unhealthy cycle, perpetuating cycle that's been happening for you, if you can end it and close it, then you are super strong, because then you can change anything in your life and you've got this power within you. And when you close the cycle, you will recognize the strength in you. That was something that I noticed for myself. I was like, wow, I'm actually very strong because I've just closed something off that I really didn't think I could. And you will do it in divine timing when you're ready. And you may be watching this and you're not at that stage yet, and that's fine, but this will be planting the seeds for you to recognize when you do feel ready, then that time will come. Because there's definitely been times when I didn't feel ready either. I was sitting with it and I was like, I recognize it's there. I recognize that I feel this way, and I'm aware of how I feel, and I am aware that this is not the ideal situation for me to be in. However, I'm not quite ready. Like, intuitively, I was very connected to myself and able to recognize I'm not quite ready. I'm not quite there yet. I'm going to sit on it. I'm going to let it play out. And I actually think when you have this awareness, if you don't feel ready, but on some level there's this awareness, this cycle may even like close itself in some way, because you've already got that awareness there that it needs to be closed, but you're just letting it like flash out, so to speak. So how to prevent it is the third thing I want to talk about. And how to prevent it is super simple. I kind of mentioned it. I've kind of just jumped the gun on all of this. But how to prevent it is to be aware that if something tends to repeat, you've got that awareness. So having the awareness is the key. It always is. But if you've got that awareness, then you're like, hang on, this feels too familiar and like uncomfortably familiar, not in a good way. You can say no to that before it gets too much, you get too involved in the situation. But yeah, just having the awareness is the key, and that's how you prevent it, is like just being aware that it's a cycle and everything has to end at some point, right? It's just gotta close itself off. So the way you close it off is just being aware when you're stepping into something. What is the cycle I'm stepping into? This is just how you can close off cycles and, you know, remove these cycles from your life that you don't need to have anymore. And a lot of it can be karmic past life stuff that we've brought in from past lives, and it's a lesson we haven't learned, we need to continue to learn. Or it could be a cycle that you opened up in this lifetime and you actually allow that cycle to be created in this life, and so then it continues until you learn the lesson. So it's always about learning the lesson. Once you've learned that lesson and you recognize that it's not, you know, what you want to experience anymore, close it off and leave it, even if it's painful. Do it when you feel ready. Do it when it feels right, because at the end of the day, you have to live out these cycles in order to grow, and you have to do it when it feels right. But just make sure to really trust yourself, really listen to yourself. I will always encourage that, because it's so important to be connected to your true self, be connected to your intuition. Know that what you are feeling is right. You know, what you feel is also really valid. That was just, you know, all about the cycles, why they're repeating, how to stop it, and how to prevent it. So I really hope that this is helpful for you guys in some way. This was a journey that I went through and still going through my journey, but I closed off a lot of cycles and I am much better off for it. So if you did like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Thank you for joining me again today, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.